Hello, emerging media
Design.
design students. My name is Alice Pierce, and I'm a music faculty member. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about the project that John O'Neill and I have been working on all summer for you this semester. In the spring, our department is doing an opera called The Turn of the Screw by Benjamin Britten, who's the composer, and it's based on a novel by Henry James. Henry James lived from, when did he live from? Henry James lived from 1843 to 1916, and he was born in New York City, but he spent a lot of his life in London, and he wrote lots of novels, things called, that you might actually know, called Portrait of a Lady, The Bostonians, Wings of the Dove, and when he was in one of his depressed moods, he wrote The Turn of the Screw. The Turn of the Screw is an interesting title. It probably has some meaning, which can be as things start to get worse, as a situation starts to get worse. The Englanders would call that the screw is turning, the turn of the screw. So in our department, opera is a music theater piece. It's based on a novel or a play, and many of the plays or the novel's lines are set to music. There's usually someone called a librettist who decides to write the libretto, which are the words that then would be set to music. So our piece, The Turn of the Screw, is interesting. It was an interesting time for Henry James, who was very interested in theology, spiritualism, mysticism, and what that actually synthesizes into for us was a work that is a ghost story. He was very interested if dead people could talk back to us, the live people, and whether there would be some sort of a relationship that they could involve. In this particular piece, it takes place in England, countryside, at a mansion. There's a governess who has been asked to care for 2 children. And when she gets there, it's this big rambling mansion. She notices that the children have some behavioral kinds of problems, disturbances. Miles, the older child, had been at school and was sent away from school, sent back home because of behavioral problems. And Flora is his younger sister. They play lots of games together. And she starts to see that they don't always, what she thinks, they don't always show a good purpose with how they are playing. And there is another character called a housekeeper, and she tells the governess that there have been 2 people that used to work there that are now dead, Peter Quint and Miss Jessel, the former governess. One died in a car accident, and the other, not a car accident, a carriage accident, and the other died in a lake. So the governess thinks that she's seen a strange man on one of the towers of the castle, of the mansion. She thinks that she's seen Miss Jessel on a lake, and the children are with her. She has this idea that perhaps that Peter Quint and Miss Jessel these ghosts want to kidnap the children. Eventually she sends Flora away, and Miles she keeps with her, and by the last scene we see that somehow Peter Quint has gotten Miles. What this means is that Miles dies in the governess's arms. So it's a great ghost story. How does he really die? Dies of fright? We don't really know. There's also the psychological view that perhaps the governess is just imagining these ghosts, that she is repressed sexually, and that she's just imagining all of these things. I think that we'll probably leave that up to the audience. I think what we want to do is to create a story that is just a really frightening kind of ghost story. So, you guys will be producing a digital display for 3 screens in Weber Music Hall. The middle screen is a very, very large central screen, and then there's 2 smaller screens on the side of that. And Professor O'Neill will pretty much tell you what he wants done with that and how he wants those to be synced together. But they should be 3 related images. I think that you have lots of leeway and artistic license to do filming, to take some of the videos that we did at inside of Glensheen Mansion. What we want to do, though, is for each scene to have a particular mood, and you have your you have a synopsis of the scenes and the various locales. So, for instance, if we're on the lake, do we want to have some fog? How light do we want it to be? If we have a scene at night, it might be sort of dark, but we still need to be able to see something on the screen, right? So you can't really film totally in the night. If it tends to be some sort of a happier mood, we might want it to be a little lighter. If it's outside, how gray is it? I think basically the opera is kind of gray. So I don't think that we want necessarily lots and lots of color. But your scene, all of your scenes should have some sort of elements that go throughout the whole opera. And just remember, it gets worse as it goes on. So you might be able to do some really fun, creative things with your images, especially in the second act and as we get towards the end of the second act. Especially in those ghost scenes, you know, the use of fog could be really interesting. If there's a morning scene, maybe we want to see some sunlight or sun rays coming through leaves, if that's possible. I don't know. But it could be, I'm hoping that for you it will be a really fun project. The opera doesn't happen until spring of next year, so it's in late March 2019. And if you come to the performance, you'll get to see the fruits of your labor. Thank you.